Good morning. You are listening to the National Real Estate Auction Radio Show. I am your host, Doug Dennison, and we are broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city at WFOY 1240 AM and WFOY 102.3 FM studios. Through the power of the internet, this program is being streamed worldwide on 1023newsradio.com. Additionally, this show is going to be posted on youtube.com. Our radio show mission statement: provide an educational experience for listeners in a promotional format for real estate auctions across the country. We're going to be talking about auctions and real estate. Pretty exciting today. We've got a couple of VIP guests that will be calling in. We'll begin talking about bankruptcy auctions. And a lot of people don't know about those, except for maybe bankruptcy attorneys. And it is a place where real estate brokers can make money, investors can make money. It's a good place to go to if you are an investor, but you need to know all the facts, all the information, and it's a good deal. I will admit I have done many bankruptcy auctions in my career. Couple of them pretty exciting, like 100 condominiums in Miami Beach at one time. Last one was a couple years ago. It was a shopping center in Miami, and sold for, let me see, $31 million, I believe. Excuse me, $21 million. And that was, again, a real estate bankruptcy auction that was in South Miami area. And again, a retail shopping center. And lots of bidding. I think it probably did some kind of world record, because the way that the case was written and the order was written, it said it needed to be in groups of 25,000 increments. And so that was pretty exciting. We had 161 bids. Let's go to our first caller. Good morning. You're on the air. Patricia?
Yes?
Hey, how are you doing?
Fine, how are you?
Well, good. Trish, tell us who you are and where you're from and what do you do?
Okay, I am Trish Redmond. I'm from Miami, Florida. I work with Stearns Weaver Miller in Miami, and I'm a bankruptcy lawyer.
Well, very good. Have you did you grow up in the Miami area, Trish?
I did not.
Okay.
I grew up in Philadelphia and came here for college and law school.
Ah, got it. Where did you go to law school?
University of Miami.
University of Miami, wonderful. I came from the north too, a little bit more north, up in the Boston area and Rhode Island area, Connecticut area. So it's certainly beautiful down here, and we've got a beautiful day in Florida. You are now the current president of the American Bankruptcy Institute. Tell me what that is, if you can.
The American Bankruptcy Institute is an organization of 13,000 insolvency professionals. It includes financial advisors, auctioneers, lawyers, bankers, and it's national and international. It produces over 38 educational programs a year. The American Bankruptcy Institute also has underwrites the ABI Commission to Study Chapter 11, which is conducting field hearings now and will eventually render a report on changes that are crucial to Chapter 11.
Really? Now, Trish, let me tell you who listens to this show. We're thrilled. We just had a show that went over 77,000 views, and the last couple of them have done 30,000 views. So we're getting more popular. But the people who listen are anywhere from people like you, bankruptcy attorneys, real estate investors, real estate brokers, real estate media, banking representatives, government officials, and then the general public. So when you say Chapter 11, what does that mean? And if you could, give us a breakdown from the different chapters, if you would.
Okay, Chapter 11 is a bankruptcy chapter where a company or an individual seeks to restructure debt, reorganize debt, and pay obligations out on a modified basis, which is called a Chapter 11 plan. Chapter 13 is very similar, but for individuals only with regular income and with smaller amounts of debt. And Chapter 7 in bankruptcy is where a company liquidates in bankruptcy, where they might sell all their assets and pay creditors whatever is available for creditors from those assets, or an individual files bankruptcy, turns over their what's called non-exempt property to the trustee for creditors, and receives a discharge.
Which bankruptcy court do you work out of? What district, or do you work in many different districts?
Primarily the Southern District of Florida, but also the Middle District of Florida.
Okay, and where does that area entail?
Southern District of Florida is from north of Palm Beach through the Florida Keys.
Okay, very good. Well, you and I have had a chance to work together when I worked with Fisher Auction Company many years ago, and it was a lot of fun, a lot of exciting things that happened. Can you recollect some of that and maybe tell our listeners what we did as an auction firm and how it helped this particular bankruptcy case? And I'm talking about Seacoast.
Yeah, sure. That case was an incredibly interesting case. The developer had gone south after having sold out about 3/4 of the condominium units in a building on the Gold Mile on Miami Beach, and there were 90 condominium units left. Our task was to market and sell them for the highest and best value, and Doug and Lewis got involved and helped us structure an auction to be able to get the highest price for the units. We started with an auction that would, on the first day, offer each of the condominiums individually, and then after that, offer them in bulk, with the bulk bid being higher than the sum of the individual bids. I learned a lot at that auction. The first 30 units went for higher than what their fair market value was, because there were people that had their eye on a certain unit and were there to bid on it.
Right.
The middle 30 actually went for lower than fair market value because there was that middle lull in the process, and the last 30, because people were afraid they weren't going to get one, again went for higher than fair market value. So I thought that the auction itself was hugely successful, so successful that the legal issues that were involved in a bulk bid were eliminated, and the court approved the auction, and it was a win-win for creditors and for the people who bought units.
I believe Judge Crystal was the judge involved in that, and he has been there for many years. Just a great gentleman who really does a fine job down there for all of us. What we did back then, it was do a high bidder's choice, and for those of you that don't know what that is that we had whatever it was, 80 or 90 different condominiums, and you weren't bidding on a particular one from one. We kind of put them up in different groups, if I remember correctly, and what you were doing was you were bidding on the right to pick your unit. And it's very successful for the seller, and in this case the court, and we had a lot of attorneys involved because it was such a big case, and there were problems with the association, if I remember, and there was a lot of people, a lot of moving things, but we did a great job, and you were so important in that whole production because you were there representing the whole case to Judge Crystal and what we did and how we did and all the results. And if I remember, it was all smiles that day when it was confirmed.
Exactly. And, Doug, you give me too much credit. You made me look really good.
Well, very good. Do you see any new trends? It seems to me, and I'm not in the thick of it as I used to be, especially down in the Miami area, but it seemed like there was a lull in big cases and a lull in commercial bankruptcy cases and bankruptcy auctions. And it kind of got settled, so there were fewer bankruptcy auctions, and now it seems like there's getting more and more. Is that correct, or do you have a feel for that?
The properties that haven't done well are still seeking bankruptcy relief, and oftentimes they need to be sold, and auctions are a good way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
The bankruptcy practice in the Southern District right now is strongly skewed in favor of litigation rather than restructuring and sales of assets. But it's cyclical, so it's just a matter of when the cycle turns to the next phase. Okay.
And tell me, how did you decide that you wanted to be a bankruptcy attorney?
I was in law school in 1978 when the Bankruptcy Code was enacted, and much of our studies focused on the changes between the old act and the code, and I liked it. And I was fortunate enough to be hired by a bankruptcy firm, and at that time the major bankruptcy firm in South Florida, and the rest is history.
Well, tell me about your current firm and what they do and where their offices are and how many attorneys, what kind of different things does the firm do?
The firm does just about every area of law. It's a full-service firm, Miami, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, and also Tallahassee. And the firm is totally a Florida firm. Our bankruptcy department is primarily in Miami, and there is corporate, tax, real estate, litigation, employment, just about most of the practice areas.
Okay. And give us the name of the firm again, if you would.
It's Stearns, Weaver, Miller, Weissler, Alhadeff, and Sitterson.
Very good. Now, again, this is down in Miami. You're right on Flagler. I've visited your offices many times, and it's a great location because it's real close to the courthouse, and that's of course very important. Who hires you, Trish? I'm sure it's a whole bunch of different people that might hire you for different reasons, but as a bankruptcy attorney, who are the people that might be hiring you?
Well, some of the people that hire bankruptcy lawyers generally are trustees, oftentimes bankers who find that their credit facility is involved in a bankruptcy case. Oftentimes creditors' committees in Chapter 11 cases, which are a group of unsecured creditors representing the interests of the whole group of unsecured creditors. Also, people who are involved in litigation in bankruptcy court that have issues and wish them to be brought to the court.
So, again, a whole bunch of different groups can be involved, and those different groups, you could be working for different parties each time. So that's pretty exciting. The American Bankruptcy Institute, how long have you been involved in there? And, my gosh, tell me about what your duties are as the current president.
I've been involved for over 30 years, and the organization is about 33 years old. The organization started very small. Started with a few Washington conferences and then grew amazingly over its first 10 years. And then after that has grown exponentially. Mm-hmm. My job is to be the spokesperson for the organization and to watch over everything that's happening internally, to move the organization forward, to answer questions for it. If questions are asked in specific instances, oftentimes Congress or other groups will ask questions about a field of law they don't quite understand, and we provide those answers. I attend as many of the 38 conferences this year as I possibly can.
Wow.
and that's pretty much everything.
38 different conferences. My gosh, you're getting your frequent traveler miles right up there, probably.
Yes, indeed.
Very good. When you think of bankruptcy, for the general public anyway, you kind of feel like somebody's gone bad. It's economy. They had a dream and it didn't work out, and then they seek bankruptcy. How long do bankruptcies usually take? And I know it's going to be a wide range, but give us some examples of how long sometimes a bankruptcy can be in litigation.
A bankruptcy can be as easy in Chapter 7 as about 100 days. I teach a pro bono clinic at the University of Miami Law School, and the cases we have are relatively simple.
Mm-hmm.
They get through the system in about 100 days, and the debtor gets discharged, and the case is over.
Okay.
More complex cases can go 5 years. In fact, the Tusa case pending in the Fort Lauderdale division had its 5-year birthday and then confirmed a plan.
Got it. One of the things that people don't know, because they don't know that much about bankruptcies, and if there's a real estate property, they're wondering, my gosh, if I buy it at bankruptcy, if I buy this property, will there be a whole bunch of liens on it, all that kind of stuff. Please tell them that that's not the case, and how good a property coming out of bankruptcy case is.
Most of the sales that are conducted in bankruptcy court are sold in what's called free and clear of liens, claims, and encumbrances.
Got it.
Which means the property sold isn't burdened with all the claims and the liens generally that existed before.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's very good. And tell us how people can reach you, and maybe a website for your firm, if you would.
Okay. My email is predmond, PREDMOND, at Stearns, STEARNS, Weaver.com.
Very good. And again, the website is stearnsweaver.com. It's in Miami. Trish Redmond is one of the leaders, not only of the Miami area, but nationally, because she's the president of the American Bankruptcy Institute. Trish, I know you've got a case that you're going to and need to be there shortly. I want to thank you for being on the show today, and you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful weekend as well.
Okay, take care, Trish.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
bye.
All right, that was Trish Redmond, attorney for Stearns & Weaver. That's stearnsweaver.com, one of the best law firms in Florida, certainly in the Miami area. Bankruptcy is Trish's thing, and I've worked with her several times, and always the professional, always the expert, always willing to roll up her sleeves to get the job done. And so kudos to Patricia Redmond. And again, she's an attorney for Stearns Weaver and is the current president of the American Bankruptcy Institute. A bankruptcy is, in fact, a government sale. And that's one of the things that I pride myself on being very knowledgeable on. We have talked about the fact that auctions are the fairest and most transparent way to sell a property, in my belief. And bankruptcy courts use them, government uses them. It's the way to go. After we have a break, we're going to have an auction firm on the show. They'll be talking about what they're doing in the bankruptcy realm right now. But as far as a buyer, as an investor, you just heard Trish Redmond say that when you buy out of the bankruptcy court, all those liens, all those other issues that you might normally have in a commercial property, or even a large group of residential properties like the condo that we did with 90 different condominiums, all those title issues go away. And so you're a clean slate. It's the cleanest title you can really get, in my belief. And it's a wonderful thing for a buyer. So buyers, investors, please do not be afraid of getting involved in bankruptcy court cases. Again, Trish Redmond is the current president of the American Bankruptcy Institute. I think she said there's more than 13,000 members, 13,000 members across the country. She has to, but she does go to many of the 38 different meetings and seminars and conferences that they hold across the country. And so, as I kidded her, she must be logging a whole bunch of travel miles for the frequent flyer program. Trish Redmond, again, attorney for Stearns Weaver, one of the leaders in bankruptcy through not only Miami, not only Florida, but nationally. When we get back from a break, we are going to be talking about, number one, more bankruptcy auctions that are coming up so that you can find out what's happening, how to get involved, how to get onto an auction firm's mailing list. And when I say mailing list, that's more of an email list now. We don't do as many mailings by the post office as we used to, because it's expensive and it takes too long. So now we use the internet to get things out, and the best way to find out, get information is to get on one of these mailing lists that they send out. Some do it monthly, some do it every 2 weeks, but they send out information about the upcoming auctions. And when you go on their website, they will have the terms and conditions of the auction, how much a deposit you need, how long the closing period will be, as much information as they have about the property, and pictures, and how many square feet, and how many bedrooms, and how many stories, and how big is the lot, and how many acres it is, and all that kind of good stuff, which is important. Also the times for inspection, so you can see them. So we will be back. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to be talking more bankruptcy auctions. All right, we are back. You're listening to the National Real Estate Auction Radio Show. I am your host, Doug Dennison. We are broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city, at WFOY 1240 AM and WFOY 102.3 FM studios. We're talking about bankruptcy auctions, and let's go to our next caller. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Doug.
Hey, Lamar Fisher. Well, thank you so much for calling in. We just had Trish Redmond on the show, which of course I know you know her, and she is what a great spokesperson for bankruptcy auctions across the country. She's the current president of the American Bankruptcy Institute. But we talked a little bit about bankruptcy auctions and the legal side. My listeners want to know more about what you do when you become involved in a bankruptcy auction as a bidder. So let's talk about that. But first, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what do you do, sir?
Very good. Again, it's Lamar Fisher. I'm president and CEO of Fisher Auction Company, which is headquartered in the great city of Pompano Beach, Florida.
And you have been involved in many bankruptcy auctions, and the one that I'm getting emails about and press reports about, and someone calls it the auction of the decade. Tell me about this upcoming auction and how exciting it is.
You know, in the history of our firm of over 40 years, I have to say that this is probably one of the most exciting initiatives that we have been involved in. This is the property that is formerly the Versace mansion in South Beach, Miami Beach, Florida. And we came in contact with the debtor, who was the current debtor and owner of the property. It's now called Casa Casarina, through the law firm to move forward with an accelerated auction marketing of the property. And so the auction is taking place on September the 17th, and you have to pre-qualify to be a bidder through posting $3 million in a specific escrow account with the debtor's law firm and showing proof of funds no less than $40 million. And the exciting thing about it, Doug, is the marketing campaign, and more importantly, the public relations campaign handled by our firm, who we hire, Ryan Juleson of Orlando, has been just overwhelming. We have received calls literally from around the world and interest from around the world, and I mean that will participate in the auction event itself, as well as some extremely high-profile individuals stateside.
Well, the Versace mansion has this aura about it, and the name has the aura, and so I can see, celebrities and of course Miami and Miami Beach is a mecca for celebrities in the entertainment world and in the sports arena. So I see great possibilities there. What can you do with the property, Lamar?
The property is actually zoned with a dual zoning, residential as well as a boutique hotel, and that's what it was currently utilized before it was not occupied at this time, was a boutique hotel and restaurant.
Okay.
Of course, as you know, that the Versace, Gianni Versace used it as his personal home, and so we actually have interest on both sides of that scale.
Okay.
Some interest just to keep it as a home, and others to convert it to a business.
What's the actual location of it, if you would?
Yeah, the location is at 1116 Ocean Drive in Miami Beach. It sits right on the corner of 11th Street and Ocean Drive, which is A1A. So it's literally directly across from the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow. And how many rooms is it? And I hear things about the pool that's kind of exciting. Tell us about that.
Mr. Versace, he bought the property back in early '92 and spent approximately $33 million in a renovation, and included in those renovations was gold inlaid tiles within the swimming pool. It's absolutely magnificent, truly one-of-a-kind property. It consists of 10 complete suites, along with a full commercial kitchen, separate dining room, separate lounge areas, separate men's quarters for your enjoying your cigars and your drinks, as well as a courtyard, and the pool area, of course, is just absolutely magnificent.
Well, it's a one-of-a-kind property. It's very exciting. How exciting is it to get calls from really the VIPs of the world saying, hey, I want that property. Where do I send my, what do you say, $3 million as a deposit to sign up for this auction and registration so that I can bid? I mean, that's got to be pretty cool.
It really is, and you really don't realize how many billionaires there are out there that have the capability of buying such a wonderful property. And to be able to talk to them personally on a one-to-one basis, to actually physically show them the property on a one-to-one basis, has just been an adventure of a lifetime as far as the auction business is concerned on Fisher Auction's part.
How can you find out more about the property in case you were perhaps a real estate broker that has clients and clientele of that ilk that could afford that, or a buyer that's listening to this show or sees something in the in the newspaper. How do you find out about the properties?
Well, they can obviously call our office at 800-331-6620, or more importantly, visit our website at fisherauction.com, and that will give you the complete details. And I'm glad you brought up about the broker participation, Doug, because we do offer that in this particular initiative, and all they have to do as a broker bringing a client is fill out a simple form, have their client sign it, and they'll sign it and get that to us in advance of the September the 12th date, and they will participate in the auction. And I can tell you that we've had several brokers already register clients.
Good.
That are engaged in the process, and again, some very, very high-profile individuals. So please visit the website at fisherauction.com, and that will give you the complete details and the data, including the court order. We can talk about that a little bit later if you wish, but it's all there for their perusing and for their opportunity to participate.
Well, we'll talk about the court order. What's in it, and how will the high bid be confirmed? That kind of things. We didn't get that involved with Trish Redmond on that, but maybe you can share that for our listeners.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. When you're dealing with the bankruptcy court, you have to officially be appointed by the court, and we go through the process of doing that, which we have done. But more importantly, there's a specific court order that is designed and approved by the judge that outlines the complete bidding procedure process down to the specific real estate sales or purchase agreement that the buyer will eventually sign. So once the auction occurs on the 17th, we'll immediately sign the purchase and sale agreement, and then the following day on the 18th, we'll be going to court in front of Judge Laura Issakoff, who was the judge in this case in Miami.
Okay.
And she will actually physically ratify the auction. We'll give a full auction report, how many bids were obtained. We'll have a court reporter there. Of course, it'll all be videoed for her to review. And then she'll actually physically ratify the sale, and then we'll move to closing, which takes place about 20 days from the 17th. But it is an as-is, where-is transaction, and that's very important for the listeners and the buyers to understand. There is no post-due diligence period. You are going to put up a hard, non-refundable, total 10% deposit of the high bid and offer, and close within 20 days. So it's very important to understand that.
So the auction will take place right on the property. Is that correct?
Correct. And the only ones that will be able to attend will be the fully qualified registered bidders.
Okay.
We understand that, of course, that the press will be outside the gates, and then once we complete the auction, I'll come forward and let them know how many bidders there were, what the price was, and who the actual buyer was.
And you video record this for the court, which is great, and so hopefully it would be confirmed the next day. That's good stuff. We talked about brokers, and your firm has a reputation of reaching out to real estate brokers and getting them involved, not only on the sales side, but also bringing buyers in. So can you tell us about that a little bit?
Absolutely. And as you stated, we are a huge proponent of working with the brokerage community on a national basis, but more importantly, bring in clients as well as those who have listings, and whether their client wishes to move forward with the auction process. So we welcome that opportunity and have been extremely successful in both ventures, whether it be them bringing a client at the auction or, more importantly, bringing us a client to work together. And particularly on this transaction for the Versace mansion, we're also working with the Jills, which is a part of Caldwell Banker's residential real estate component. And we welcome that opportunity. We feel that, especially when you're dealing with properties of this caliber or others, it's always nice to have a broker involved, because he is going to be knowledgeable about the process, and the client's going to be knowledgeable, so there's no misunderstanding at the end of the day what we're trying to achieve together.
The Jills, very well-known group. What's their names again?
Jill Eber and Jill Hertzberg.
Okay.
And they're known as the Jills from Caldwell Banker Residential Real Estate, very, very well-known firm in the Miami Beach area who really deals with high-profile and high-priced residential homes.
So besides helping you to show the property, they're bringing in their clientele that, and of course they have sold properties of this nature before, so they do have the clientele, the past clientele to help the process. So that's good. And you said that some other brokers have already registered clients that they are. Put it on a piece of paper, they signed it, their client signed it, and if they buy and close, they're due a commission, which is pretty good on a sale of this magnitude.
It really is, and again, like I said, we encourage that and work closely with them. And they have clienteles that we might not be able to reach.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a win-win for the entire process, and more importantly, it's a win-win for the client that we're serving.
And again, the bankruptcy court is trying to get the most money for it. And who is the attorney involved in this that might have reached out to you?
It's thank you for asking that. It's Joe Grant of Marshall, Sakaris, Grant, PL. They're a law firm in Boca Raton, and they are representing the debtor in possession. This is not a trusteeship. I'm sure you probably covered that with Ms. Redmond, but this is a debtor in possession. And they represent Mr. Peter Lofton, who is the debtor, and they're the ones that brought the transaction to us to move forward with the auction.
Well, again, some people are a little afraid of auctions and, my gosh, what's going to happen, but they can go to your website and see everything. I mean, is the purchase and sale agreement on the website?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a full bidder qualification package in there with the court order. Everything is there for that they need to know if they want to participate, or more importantly, if they just want to view the documents. As one just is curious about the process and about the property itself. We have a full photo gallery, full video of the home and the property, and it. I can't tell you enough, Doug, about the craftsmanship and the mosaic flooring that has gone into this property. Every time I'm in it, and I've been in it now probably a dozen times, every time I see something different. It is just so unique.
Well, people also would like to know more about the upcoming auctions that you have, and I know you've got many, and how do people get on your email list so they can find out about new auctions, Lamar?
They go again right back to the website. They can sign up for e-blast notices. They can, of course, sign up for Facebook and Twitter and all the social medias that we can reach out to them. They can sign up for that and notice them right away when we have an upcoming auction event, so they can get interested and do their due diligence and participate. Something else that is kind of exciting too, and I don't know how much time we have left, but Fisher's been really instrumental in selling islands. We have now auctioned off about 4 or 5 now private islands, and we have another one coming up online only bidding on September the 26th. And so something interesting that I don't believe any other auction companies have the opportunity to sell.
Very exciting. What's your website again, Lamar?
It's www.fisherauction.com.
Excellent.
Fisherauction.com.
Excellent, Lamar. Thank you, and you've got a great staff. Andre and Francis and Benny and Midge. I mean, you've got everybody there that's doing a fine job, and please reach out and say hi to them. And again, I was very lucky to have worked with you and your family for a dozen plus years, and so again, say hi to them for me, and you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Doug. Have a great day.
Bye-bye now. All right, get another caller. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, it's Brad Thomas.
Hey, Brad, how are you doing? We're just getting through a couple of interviews, and I know that you call in on a weekly basis to talk about REITs, but it was pretty exciting. We had the head of the American Bankruptcy Institute on the show as the first guest, and then the second guest, they have a great big auction for the Versace mansion down in a bankruptcy auction down in Miami. So it is pretty exciting, and the people that get involved in that kind of a sale, which I think you could have put $3 million down as a bidder to register to bid, those are the same circles that you deal in. So tell us again who you are and what do you do, Brad?
Sure. Well, thank you for letting me be on the show today as well. So, yes, I'm Brad Thomas, of course, and I really wear a lot of different hats. But I guess the common thread to all those hats is that I am in the commercial real estate business, and I follow the REIT, real estate investment trust sector. So it's about a $600 billion industry, Doug, in the U.S. That's equity REIT. So there's definitely a lot of money out there today, and that's actually an article I'm researching this weekend, just the historical amounts of equity that's been raised in the marketplace.
Well, tell us, because you write for a whole bunch of different groups. I'm not going to do them all, but you've been on the Street. You write for the Street, Forbes, the Motley Fool, Seeking Alpha. Been on Fox Business, NPR, the Commercial Real Estate Show. I mean, you are the man as far as REITs. So is there anything new and exciting that I know you're up in New York, or you just came back from New York. What's happening now?
Sure. Well, yeah, I'm up in New York today. Beautiful day up here. I mean, this is definitely one of these days I would live in New York City. There's not many of those, but it's 75 and just a really beautiful day. And I'm actually, as soon as we get off the phone, I'm going out to tour some properties. I am spending a lot of my time right now, obviously working on the public sector. That's what I love. I love the transparency and the liquidity of REITs. I'm very passionate about liquid real estate. However, today, and really what I've been focusing on a lot up here in New York, is Donald Trump, because I'm in the process of writing a number of articles on Mr. Trump. Hopefully, I'm going to interview him next week. Actually, on September 11th, ironically, I'm going to be back up in New York a couple days. I'm speaking at a triple net lease conference on the 12th. I'm going to D.C. on the 10th, where I was invited to an event that the Trump organization has put on. They've acquired you got control. It's actually a long-term lease of a really amazing property. It's an old post office in D.C. that they're redeveloping into a world-class $200 million hotel facility with some ancillary retail, I believe. So I'm going to learn a lot about that next week, going to D.C., then back up to New York. So everything's pretty busy, for sure.
Well, it just so happens I know a lot about that particular property. It's one of the stories that I talk about, because the government has a lot of properties that are surplus properties they need to sell or do something with, and that particular property was costing the American taxpayer about $6 million a year in holding cost. And the fact that Donald Trump is now going to lease it and pay the group, the GSA and the American taxpayer basically rent. This is a wonderful thing for the American taxpayer, and I just applaud the GSA, and I applaud Donald Trump for getting their hands in and coming up with a deal that will help the American taxpayer and also make an abandoned property into a beautiful, property.
Absolutely, and I know a little bit about this property. I know a lot more next week, but I know it was very competitive. There were other developers in the mix,
yes.
And I know that the Trump organization came out as the winner in this one, and so I'm definitely anxious to learn more about it next week. And they're going to unveil that project. By the way, they've got another project. I'm going to be down. You mentioned Miami in a previous guest. I'm going to be in Miami in a couple more weeks, taking a look at the current status of the Doral Trump Doral course down there, which is undergoing significant renovations as we speak, and again, another trophy asset in the Trump organization down in Miami.
Well, it's funny that you said that Donald Trump, won the bid to get the post office. He likes to win, doesn't he?
He does like to win, and I don't see him losing much. So, he got in the news a little bit last week, and I wrote an article on that. Not necessarily defending him. He doesn't need anybody to defend him.
No.
But it's amazing because what I've learned about Mr. Trump so far. I mean, he has. He is very, very knowledgeable in commercial real estate, and he's made a lot of money off that. Both real property as well as intellectual property, and when you add those two together, you're talking about a pretty a multi-billion-dollar brand.
Yes.
And so when you get to be that size and you have that kind of brand, you're going to have people. I think in the article I mentioned the raised nail gets hammered, and that's what I think you were seeing out there today with the Trump organization and Mr. Trump is he has transformed this company into a globally recognized brand, and that brand has significant value, and that's really the purpose of what I'm writing on today.
Well, I'm looking at your website, and I see a picture of you and Donald Trump, and there's a quote from Donald Trump. He says, Brad Thomas has a multilingual approach to real estate. He has built it, brokered it, sold it, invested in it, researched it, and now he's telling it. Who can't learn from his experience? And that is why I consider the Intelligent REIT Investor to be a must-have newsletter. And this is from Donald Trump, Chairman and President of the Trump Organization. How do people get your newsletter just like Donald Trump does?
Sure, and I appreciate your mentioning that testimonial from Mr. Trump. That's always very humbling, and I really appreciate what he said and you repeating that. But you can certainly sign up for my newsletter. I'm actually finishing that this weekend. I'll have the September issue going out next week.
Okay.
It's a monthly monthly newsletter, Doug. It's $99 a year. I've really tried to price this so that anybody can afford this information. I think it is something that's needed. That's why I'm doing it. I think it's hard to get this information out on these public companies. So you can reach on my website, which is www.theintelligent REIT investor.com, and there's some information I post on. Most of my articles I post on the site, update that every week. That site serves as research, but I have a lot of fundamental analysis in my newsletter. I do have some portfolio picks. Everybody wants to know, how to buy stocks
Sure.
and sell stocks. So I've got hopefully some valuable information in that letter, and I'd love to share it with anybody out there.
Well, again, good stuff. Give us the website one more time, Brad.
Sure, it's www.theintelligentREITinvestor.com.
Excellent. Hey, enjoy your weekend, and I hope the weather is still looking good up there in New York.
Great, and I look forward to we'll provide some future updates on the D.C. property. Like I said, now that you're familiar with it, and I will be soon. We'll talk about that maybe on a future show.
Perfect. Hey, you take care.
Great, you too.
Bye-bye. All right, that was Brad Thomas, CEO of the Intelligent REIT Investor. It's a small world. I've been talking about that post office for 2 years now on this radio show to tell the people that, there's properties out there that the government has, and we need to sell them. We need to do something with them because they're costing the American taxpayer $1.6 billion a year for holding cost. You heard it right, $1.6 billion a year. So I'm thrilled that Donald Trump and his relationship with Brad Thomas got the post office. They're going to be paying a lease. They're going to make it into a better property than the abandoned one, of course. So that's good. I am going to be speaking at the 5-Star Conference in Dallas next week, but I'll be back for the Friday show. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you for listening.